Hello and welcome you fancy folks to my YouTube channel. This is my first time being on YouTube. This channel is gonna be about so much more, but this particular video is about my TOEFL test marks and how I got there. So I scored a 116 out of 120 with only 6 hours of prep. I took my test on 10th of August 2025, which was a Sunday, and because of my day job, I couldn't really find any time to prepare for it. So I dedicated the second half of the previous day, which was a Saturday, entirely to it. I first studied the pattern, which sections are there, what is the marking strategy, what is the expectation for each section, what do they test specifically, and then I practiced through a few free mocks on the internet. We'll go through all of these details together further in the video. TOEFL has 4 sections that come in the similar order for every test taker. First comes reading, then comes listening, then comes speaking, and then comes writing. Let's dive deep into reading. Reading consists of two comprehensions of around 700 to 800 words each. There are 10 questions attached to each comprehension. Time limit won't be an issue if you follow this strategy. So the first 9 questions are always very, very easy, and the 10th question is of medium to hard difficulty level. There is no need to read the whole comprehension right after you dive into the section, because for the first 9 sections, the paragraph that you need to focus on is actually visible to you as you scroll through the questions. So you just need to read that paragraph and answer the question. You don't have to know the context of the adjacent paragraphs. I did that in my mocks, I did that in my actual test, and I got a 30 out of a 30 in the reading comprehension. For the 10th question, you have to select 3 out of 6 options, and the question basically gives a starting line for the summary of the whole passage and 6 options. They are all almost very believable, but they not all of them will support the summary that the starting point is mentioned, and not all of them will be exactly picked from the passage. So some of them will talk about things that are not exactly relevant either to the summary or to the passage itself. I would suggest a lot of practice when it comes to this particular question because it is of 2 to 3 marks. Another thing to note is that for this question, I would actually recommend going through the whole passage. So for from questions 1 to 9, you already have had a sequential reading of the almost all the passage paragraphs, and you have a fair idea of what it's about. But for the question 10 itself and the summary that it starts with, you should keep that summary in mind and give the passage a couple of rereads and see which options are valid. So it took me less than 50 seconds for the first 9 questions, and it took me a good 4 minutes for the 10th question. And I guess the time limit kind of adds up. It is a section of around 30 minutes only. So this time limit should work out. Keep that in mind. I used to practice from a free mock test available online. I'll link it down below for you guys, and we'll move on to the next section. Let's talk about the listening section. Listening section had 5 tasks, 3 conversations and 2 lectures. The idea is to listen to the conversations and lectures carefully and take notes alongside with it. So I took notes on a mini sized whiteboard like this, and I used markers, and I just took note of 2 or 3 more important things so that I don't really waste my entire time taking notes and completely blank out on actually listening. It's very important to know where the conversation or the lecture started from. And in case of lectures, what was the sequence of ideas and concepts discussed. In case of conversations, it is very important to note what the basic thing that was discussed was, and not what is the niceties and the conclusion, but the crux of the conversation. What person A came to talk to person B about. In lectures, it will be fairly obvious what the topic of discussion was, but the finer details like theories presented, examples presented, controversies, conclusions, contractions, everything else will be important. There will be around 5 to 6 questions to each listening task, and it'll be of around 30 minutes and 30 marks. It is not difficult at all. The idea is to make yourselves familiar with different types of American accents. People speak slowly, they don't speak at a hyper fast speed. But if you've ever been watching Western pop culture or movies or TV series, you should be okay. I got a 30 out of a 30 in this section as well, which means almost 100% accuracy. And that's because of my practice and how I sort of narrowed down and deduced actually, that what are the important things to take care of in this section. Cool. Let's talk about the speaking section, and it is the one that daunts most people. I got a 30 out of a 30 in this section as well, and I think that I can help you guys out. There will be 4 tasks. The first task will be to talk about something familiar to you. There will be a prompt, and there will be a deadline of either 45 seconds or 60 seconds to speak. And generally, that kind of duration, you can only say like 3 to 5 sentences. So I made sure that the first sentence was an intro and the last sentence was always a conclusion. There will be a timer on your screen, so you can modify what you're saying accordingly. The middle 2 to 3 sentences can be the body of your logic or your argument or whatever you are presenting. The next 3 tasks will be not simply speaking, but also reading and listening and then speaking. So either they'll give you a reading passage, presenting a theory, and then they'll give you a listening task with a listening audio that is talking about the passage, maybe contradicting it, maybe supporting it, and you'll have to present your findings in the speaking section of that task. Again, the deadline can be 45 to 60 seconds, again 3 to 5 sentences. I could say, oh, intro sentence could be like, oh, this passage and this audio clip talks about so and so issue, the passage supports it, the audio clip contradicts it, these are the reasons why it is contradicting, this is my opinion, and this is the conclusion of this task and my understanding and my findings from it. Each sentence should not be more than 15 to 20 words. You should speak slowly, you should enunciate. The speed that I'm talking at right now is slightly faster. Maybe I would talk like this when I'm attending that section and that test, and I will avoid using filler words like hmm, maybe, oh, like this. I will practice to talk continuously and use my phone to record myself for 45 or 60 seconds and listen to the audio clip to see if my grammar is making sense, if I'm not using slang or in a habit of using slang, if my structure is making sense, the intro and the conclusion that I've planned is actually happening or not. It's not a very tough section. It is not dependent on how fluent and comfortable you are in speaking English in your regular life. It's just about pulling yourselves together for those 4 tasks of 45 to 60 seconds. It's not a big deal at all. Just record yourself and listen to yourself for like 10, 11 times, and you should be fairly comfortable. Okay, now let's talk about the writing section, the most painful part of this whole test taking journey. I got a 26 out of a 30. Maybe I'll discuss here what I did right, what I think I did wrong. I have been into English writing and creative writing since I was a child, so I was not expecting anything lower than a 28 in this section, but something clearly went wrong. There will be 2 tasks in this section, and it is going to be of 30 minutes. The first task will last 20 minutes and the next will last 10 minutes. 20 minutes is enough time. I think the expectation is to write 300 to 400 words, maybe 250 to 350 words, which is very doable. You have to read a prompt, Maybe there is a passage attached, or a clip, or a conversation, a very short one. You'll read it and then you'll jot down your thoughts about it. The thing to keep in mind is to keep enough time, maybe a minute or maybe 3 minutes at the end, to be able to reread what you wrote and correct spelling mistakes and silly grammatical mistakes. So I did that after every paragraph. Before starting to type, I kept in mind, oh, how should I break it down? Each paragraph will be of 50 to 100 words. I'll target at 4 to 5 paragraphs, and the first will, as always, an introduction, and the last will be, as always, conclusion. The middle three will be in support of my argument. The thing that I think I did wrong was not using a super formal tone. Even though I didn't use slang, I think I used some contractions in English, and that's not welcome, I guess. My tone after years of working and not being a student for some time now has gone a little urban, a little chilled out, and I think that reflected. They are expecting your writings to be on the more formal side of the spectrum. The instructions that I just gave also go for the 10-minute task. The idea there will be that you don't have to write more than 150 to 250 words. Again, you'll either be supporting or contradicting or sitting on a fence about a conversation or about a prompt. That should be it about the writing section. Tip that I would have for you guys is to use ChatGPT, Gemini, or other AI tools extensively during your prep. Even though my preparation only lasted 6 to 7 hours, I asked ChatGPT multiple times to produce prompts of speaking and writing and asked it to score my response and suggest corrections. And you could also ask ChatGPT to summarize the pattern of the exam, the expectation from each section, how long it will last, what amount of questions or tasks will be there in each section. Having a note of that in front of you while you're preparing will help you prioritize and keep a gauge on your performance, even though you're not using paid mock tests. Talking about the cost of the exam, it costed me 17,000 rupees to book the at home version of the exam. I also invested 1,200 rupees in buying a UPS to make sure that my internet connection is solid. I'll talk more about my at home test experience of TOEFL in another video. But that's it. No more money spent on any mocks or any preparation. In support of full disclosure, I have been a fluent English speaker since I was a child, and I am of STEM background, so I've taken multiple such entrance exams with reading comprehensions, etc. But that doesn't mean that this test wasn't a new thing, it wasn't a challenge. I did well enough because I was aware exactly of what the test expects. That's been my experience taking the tests and preparing for it and scoring decently well with it. I hope this proved helpful to the future test takers. Leave your questions in the comments down below. I'm just starting to explore YouTube as a medium of my creativity and expression and talking about my experiences. Therefore, I'll keep an eye out on comments and I'll reply every weekend once I get free from my day job. It was lovely talking to you guys. See you all around. Bye bye.